Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Nat, and today I'm actually in Oregon, a state I've never been to before, and we're actually exploring this huge forest in the Pacific Northwest. And I've actually got my reptiles and amphibians book here today, and even though it's February, there's actually a chance we could find maybe like a salamander or a newt or something like that. So we're gonna go out and look and see if we can find some creatures. Let's go. The Pacific Northwest is truly one of the most primeval places in all of the United States. There's these massive trees covered in moss, and there's all sorts of ferns and other plants, and it's so green even in the middle of winter. And this forest is actually considered a rainforest because this whole ecosystem revolves around the fact that it rains so much in Oregon and Washington. And basically, it's a perfect place to find amphibians because they require moisture to keep themselves wet, and that's how we found one of the coolest amphibians on this expedition. Wow, I don't know what this is, what species this is. Some species of salamander. We're here in Oregon, the Pacific Northwest, and I don't know what species this is. Here, let me put down this guide for a second and see if I can identify this guy, because this is a really small salamander. Because it's cold, his body hasn't warmed up yet, and so he's basically just kind of dormant right now almost. And it's actually February, so it's pretty cold. Wow, we just flipped over this log, and this tiny little guy was just under here, like right here. And I don't know exactly what species this is, but whatever it is, it's a really cool animal. So yeah, here it is. I'm gonna put him back because he's very cold. Let me check his underside, because I might be able to identify him. His legs are kind of, you see that orange on the base of his legs? That might be a sign of what species he is, but I actually don't know what species this guy is. This is definitely either a juvenile or maybe even just out of larval stage. Oh, see, now he's moving around. The body heat from my hand is actually probably warming him up, but my hands are actually quite dry. Well, they're not that dry because it is pretty moist out here, but I don't want to hold him forever because it could suck out some of the moisture in his body. But I'm going to put him back. He's going to walk back off, I think. Here he goes. Wow, this is actually like one of the smallest salamanders I've ever found. I want to see if he goes back under the log. Okay, there he goes. He'll eventually walk back under there. There he goes. Let me see if I can find out what kind of salamander that is. So this is what it is. It's the Olympic salamander. It looks similar to this. That guy definitely has some of the same traits. He's got an orange tail like that. He's got the legs that are a little yellow or orange, and he's definitely a little guy because his feet, well, his whole body is just a lot smaller. They say 3 to 4 inches. This guy must be at most 1.5 inches, but yeah, that's probably what this guy is. So, as it turns out, I made a bit of a mistake with identifying this species. It actually was not an Olympic salamander because my field guide is kind of old, and back when it was made, they thought that like the Olympic salamander was just one species, but now they know that there's actually 4 different species of torrent salamanders that go into this sort of, family of salamanders, and the Olympic salamander does not live in Oregon, and the other species that are in that kind of family don't really look like this species. So I was kind of stumped as to what this was, and it took me a little while to figure it out, but this is actually one of my favorite salamander species, the Ensatina. Now, if you guys don't know what this is, I'll explain in a second what this is, but let me just explain why I didn't know that this was what it was, because you might be thinking, Nat, if this is one of your favorite species of salamanders, how did you not know immediately that this is an Ensatina? Well, the Ensatina is actually a newt mimic species. So, if you guys know the scarlet king snake or the viceroy butterfly mimics the monarch butterfly, which is a poisonous species, and the scarlet king snake mimics the coral snake, which is a venomous species. So the Ensatina does kind of the same thing, where it looks kind of similar to a newt,
and it doesn't have too much of a dangerous toxin, but the newts that do live around this area, the rough-skinned newts, the California newts, they are extremely toxic. I'm talking one of the most toxic amphibians on the planet, and they actually have a similar coloration, but because they're so widespread across the entire Pacific coast, there's actually a lot of different variations in the way they look, and I actually didn't know what the Oregon subspecies looked like. I only knew what the California species looked like, and I guess it was a bit of a beginner's mistake because I probably should have researched it a little bit more. But anyway, that's how I figured out that this is actually an Ensatina, one of my favorite animals, or well, one of my favorite salamanders, not really because of anything particular except for the newt mimic thing, which is really cool, mostly just because it looks super cool. And this guy is so cute. He's so tiny and his legs are super, yellow and stuff. It's awesome. But anyway, I was so excited because I couldn't believe it. I actually found one of these Ensatinas, which I'd been wanting to find for a long time, and it just so happened that I found one of these on a cold, rainy day in February. So you'll be happy to know that I'm actually going to keep making videos, at least a few more videos, because right now I'm kind of going on this West Coast tour kind of thing to look at colleges and to kind of just go on vacation. And I was in Oregon and now I'm in Seattle making this video. And today I'm actually flying down to Arizona, and I know I made a couple videos in Arizona in the past. Hopefully I can find some stuff to make some videos on. It should be kind of coolish, but hopefully I can still find some creatures, and hopefully I can make some videos about it. So maybe a couple videos in Arizona, we'll see. But anyway, for now this is all, but maybe in the next couple of days there could be another video coming out, so be looking out for it. But anyway, for now, see you guys later. Peace. Goodbye.